So besides the rodeo stuff, I really enjoyed starting colts and training. And so I kind of started my own business when I was in seventh grade of starting 2-year-olds for people and riding problem horses that neighbors and stuff had, horses that needed work on the ranch or whatever. And that really was my passion. The team roping was, I would say, secondary to that. So the horsemanship side of it has always had maybe a larger priority to me than the actual performance or competing.
This is Chelsea Schaefer, and this is season 4 of The Score. You all have listened to this podcast 750,000 times, and we are here in season 4 to bring you even more of what you love. Hey everyone, welcome to The Score. This is season 4. I am talking today to my friend Brad Barkemeyer. I first met Brad with Horse&Rider OnDemand, so I'm not sure if you know, but I spend about a quarter of my time working for Horse&Rider magazine, which is owned by our parent company, the Equine Network. I'm the editorial director for all of our brands, but I get to spend a lot of time working with Horse&Rider and learning about the training principles that they teach with Horse&Rider OnDemand. Brad is one of our founding experts there, and so we get to do a quarterly video shoot with Brad. He's an NRCHA trainer. He shows in the cutting, he shows in the reining, he works with NonPros, and he also team ropes. His background is very, very diverse, and that makes him an awesome, awesome teacher. And so I've gotten to spend quite a bit of time with Brad over the years, learning from him, doing photo shoots, doing video shoots, and I'm excited that he is here with us today on The Score. Enjoy! Today's episode is brought to you by EcoLux Bamboo Gear by Weaver Leather. I'm going to tell you more about this awesome product at the commercial break.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good. It's
Perfect.
going. Can you hear me good? Is it okay? I didn't expect you to have your camera on, so I wasn't gonna have my camera on. I just came from the gym, so
I don't know how to not have it on, so
it's okay. It's okay. I'm just apologizing for the hoodie and
no, I like it.
On
Casual.
It's
Makes me more
straight
comfortable.
from Bark. Good. Welcome to my dining room.
Welcome to my office.
Your background looks so.
Actually, Mindy's office.
It looks like an awesome horse trainer's office. You guys, there's like a code for what horse trainers' offices are supposed to look like, and that's it.
All right.
Awesome. Well, we are recording. It should be working. Thank goodness. So I am glad you are here, Brad. We have been wanting to do this for a while, and you've been on our other podcast, The Ride, with Nicole and Michaela. But this is the first time on The Score talking to team ropers.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Now, you can tell the truth. Have you ever listened to The Score?
I have not.
Man, breaking my heart. No, it's okay. Not really. You're fine.
I always like the posts you do about it and kind of read through the topics, so I'm a little bit familiar with it that way. But yeah.
Okay. Perfect. You're forgiven, Brad. It's okay. You're a busy man. What percent? Okay, so let me start this way. Give us a background. You are from Montana. Tell me how you grew up. Is that true? You're from Montana originally?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whereabouts in Montana?
So I grew up in a little town east of Billings called Huntley, and my family had a ranch and custom feedlot there. 4th generation kind of deal, so it was passed down. My great grandfather started the operation, and then it kind of got expanded through my dad's generation. And so we had cow calf operations, some farming, dryland and irrigated farm ground, and a custom feedlot.
Perfect. So how much time did you spend in the feedlot as a kid? Were you riding pens a lot? What was it?
That was probably my first experience riding, was just riding pens with my dad and checking for sick cattle. And it was probably a really good way to learn because it's kind of a controlled environment. You know, you got the fences keeping things from getting too fast, other than it being really, really cold most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I spent quite a little time there and learning the business and finding my passion for horses.
That's awesome. So what kind of horses were you riding in the feedlots back then? What did your parents have you on?
Yeah, so I had just old quarter horse geldings that were had been there, done that kind of horses that were safe. And I always tell people the best gift my parents never gave me was a pony, because I always had really good horses, not as far as talent wise goes, but they were well behaved, and I didn't ever have to go through that phase of riding a spoiled pony and getting rubbed off on the fences and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Lucky you. Lucky you.
But we just had your typical like ranch type horses. My mom and dad team roped a little bit, but as far as arena experience goes, there was not a lot of that growing up till, I don't know, maybe I was 10 or 11 when my dad he started being a pickup man for one of the NRA, the Amateur Rodeo Association up there. And that kind of drew us more towards the performance arena a little bit. So he started getting horses that were a little more designed for that kind of work.
Gotcha. So were you, so when did team roping become part of what you did? Was that something that you did after the cow horse stuff, or tell me when did it come into play?
No, that was kind of the first thing. I mean, besides roping on the ranch and, you know, at brandings and doctoring cattle, my parents also team roped a little bit through the Feedlot Association mostly, which was before USTRC or any of those handicap systems became involved. So those were always good family oriented events, and got to know a lot of people around that were doing those kind of events. And obviously with going to the amateur rodeos with my dad as a pickup man, we got to watch a lot of the, you know, calf roping, team roping, which I was intrigued with. Plus we had friends that were rodeoing, and so that just kind of became a natural fit where we wanted to start doing that, my brother and I, and started doing the junior rodeo stuff with the flag race and the goat tying and all those events, and then eventually high school rodeoed and roped calves and team roped with my brother.
So were the try-ins like in your age range for the high school rodeo stuff? Did you have to compete against them?
Luckily they were younger, so I got out of there without having to butt heads with those guys. Their dad was,
that would be
yeah, their dad was a force to be reckoned with. So we were able to watch him a lot, you know, as we were growing up, and knew that those kids were going to come up and be really wolfy. So it was fun being around that group of guys.
How did you decide then that you weren't, or did you want to be a professional team roper and ended up a professional cow horse trainer? Tell me how that path evolved.
So besides the rodeo stuff, I really enjoyed starting colts and training. And so I kind of started my own business when I was in 7th grade of starting 2-year-olds for people and riding problem horses that neighbors and stuff had, horses that needed work on the ranch or whatever. And that really was my passion. The team roping was, I would say, secondary to that. So the horsemanship side of it has always had maybe a larger priority to me than the actual performance or competing arena. So starting off with that through high school, you know, I was able to ride horses for the public and make some money doing that to help pay for college and those kind of things. With no intention of becoming a professional horse trainer or a rodeo competitor. My whole thing was to get through college and get a good job and work somewhere in the agricultural sector to try to just carry on that. And I felt like a bit of a family tradition to stay in that industry. So I went to college at Montana State University in Bozeman, and had a lot of scholarships for agriculture, and was very active in FFA and 4-H all the way through school. So all of those things played into building my resume, so to speak, to get to college and like I said, find my career path there. So along the way, while I was in college, I got a job with a guy named David Avery, and he and his wife had a horse training facility there in Bozeman. And so I was able to clean stalls, when I didn't have class, and started working there second semester, and got to see the horse show side of things kind of for the first time. I mean, I'd been around a little bit of 4-H horse show stuff that never really interested in me. But those guys were doing performance events like the cow horse, and David was showing roping horses at the American Quarter Horse Association shows, taking horses to the World Show, and they were involved in the reining. And so all of those performance events I got kind of a introduction to, and just worked my way up there, clean stalls and help, start colts and stuff like that for them while I was in college. And it kind of, the roles somewhat reversed from there. I started making the horse training deal a little bit more of a priority, and that's the way it ended up.
So did you finish school?
I did, yes. And actually, I waited until I didn't make my decision on horse training as a career right away. So I got through college and actually had an opportunity to take a job with the National Cattlemen's Association in Washington, D.C. at their policy office. And it came down to me and one other person for the final interview, and I didn't end up getting that job. So that was kind of like destiny telling me, hey, this isn't for you. You got to go do something else. And so I took that as a sign, I guess, and moved to New Mexico and continued working with David and training roping horses for a living. Yeah.
Very good. And so how much have rope horses been a part of your operation since as your career has developed? What portion of your business is rope horses now?
Gotcha. It's probably a third, I would say. Maybe it fluctuates. The rope horse deal, we have a quicker turnover, so we have more horses in and out, and so it cycles more often. The cow horses tend to stay longer in the program, so the 2-year-olds and the rope horses are the numbers that fluctuate the most, and so those numbers change often. But my first introduction into professional horse training was strictly roping, and we trained for the quarter horse shows primarily, calf roping and team roping horses. And I worked with David for 4 years in Roswell, New Mexico, and it was a really good place to be for my first job. He was a great instructor, taught me a lot about the business, and geographically it was a cool place to be. Coming from Montana, we were 500 miles from Denver, Phoenix, and Dallas, so we were kind of in a good spot that way, and we traveled a lot, got to meet a lot of the guys that were really successful and that we all looked up to try to simulate and make our horses be better. So that was fun. But about that 4th year, I realized that I wanted more than just the roping. And shoot, as specialized as everything is today, each event you could be, specialized in that particular event. If you wanted to just train heading horses right now, you probably could make a decent living at it, and the trainers 20 years ahead of me, they had to ride everything. They had to ride pleasure horses and have halter horses in the barn and rope horses, so the diversity was a lot more spread out, I believe, at that time. Now that things are more specialized, everybody's kind of funneling into their specific events. And that's one of the things I've really tried to hold on to, was maintain some diversity and maintain some variations in the training to where I can combine them, because a lot of the things cross over, but yet each of the events have their own specific finer points that are we're working towards to make better horses.
Yeah, it's funny. We've done so much. I mean, of course, over the years, we write Trevor's column, and he really talks about him and Miles Baker, who just was on the last podcast, that they like their rope horses started just specifically to be rope horses. They don't want a cow horse reject or a cutting reject. They like them started specifically in the direction of rope horses. Do your 2-year-olds go from cow horse to rope horses, or what's your transition for your colts?
Well, if that's the nice part about the two events, to me, there's so many similarities that they all get the same foundation, and the 2-year-old year into the 3-year-old year, even, we got to have that same foundation on those horses to have the fundamentals to be soft in your hands, soft off your feet, and be able to manipulate the horse's body so that they're using themselves to the best of their ability, based on their disposition, if they're good-minded and willing to learn, as well as their athletic ability.
What time of day do you ride your rope horses? Do they get saved for the end of the day, fun, relaxing time, or do you start in the morning on rope horses? What's your schedule like?
That's all based on what's coming up next, right? So we have a big rope and futurity coming up. First thing in the morning, we're going to get rope horses work, make those horses the priority that week or whatever it might be. I would say most generally we'll work the cow horses first in the mornings. I work out of a facility with 5 other trainers, so that plays into a big piece of my scheduling, and a lot of times myself and the other trainers are working cow horses also, so we can get those horses work together and not have to be in each other's way, where they can be more efficient. And then I'll work rope horses in the afternoon when those guys are done working their cow horses.
As promised, I want to stop right now to talk to you about the EcoLux bamboo gear, which is made from organic bamboo, the fastest growing plant on the planet that's a sustainable, renewable resource that you can feel good about having next to your horse. Thriving on very little water and without the use of pesticides or fertilizers, bamboo is a natural and biodegradable fiber with a small environmental footprint. The benefits don't stop there though. Bamboo is also moisture-wicking, antibacterial, breathable, hypoallergenic, and resistant to UV rays, making it the ideal fiber for equine gear. Available in cinches, rope and mule tape halters, leads, lunge lines, reins, and Macatis, EcoLux line has something to offer every tack room. Visit your local Weaver Leather dealer today to view the entire EcoLux bamboo gear line. I got to see these products at the Dallas Market Show this year, and I am telling you, they're absolutely impressive. Visit ridethebrand.com/EcoLux to check them out. So October is that your crunch time with the rope horse futurity and the snaffle bit futurity at the same time? What are the logistics of getting your crew out there, and how many horses do you usually take?
Yeah, it's a crazy time, that whole snaffle bit futurity and rope and futurity being on top of each other. There's been a couple of years here recently where I just didn't feel like I could get both prepared properly, so I chose the cow horse futurity the last couple of years. The year before was just the roping, but yet I've got friends in the business that do both, and they're doing a good job with it. And I feel like a lot of that is depending on the numbers. Number one, how many you've got, and the quality of the horse. If you're trying to make something that's not, and you really gotta work right to the very last minute to see if you can get the best out of them, then that requires a little more prioritization on that particular kind of horse. It's a crazy time, but we used to always have a lull in the year somewhere. I think it's gone. That lull is just, we don't have a slow time anymore. So
no, I was just talking to the guys about that this morning, because we're trying to schedule our Team Roping Journal photo shoot, and it was always the week after Guyman, no big deal. Yeah. Now there's however much added in 60,000 of an event added in Corpus Christi, and there's qualifying rounds every single day, and there's no I don't know. I'm gonna have to just get the guys coming through to Greeley, maybe in my arena. I don't know.
Right.
When I'm gonna get anything done, it's because half the guys, half of the top 30 in the world are also showing in the rope horse maturities, which is just such a thing. Tell me about. Do you have colts for the rope horse maturities this year?
So I have a handful. 4-year-old and a 6-year-old for both ends, a 4-year-old heel horse and a 5-year-old. So they're a little bit spread out age-wise, but it's been a nice thing to see. The Jay and Lindsay have been working really hard at trying to get the limited division and the 4-year-old incentives where they pay a little more money to make it attractive for our customers to be able to take a chance on, say, a 4-year-old and me competing against the NFR guys, knowing that that's a reach, no matter how good that horse is. So we have to be realistic about that and, pick and choose where and when we're going to enter. And the other nice part about it is having them be 6-year-old and younger. It gives that owner, a couple of years to have some leeway there on deciding really if their horse is ready to go or not. And if they have a bad year as a 5-year-old, you still got one more shot at it. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. What do you have a particular bloodline that you're riding a lot right now in the rope horses?
Not specifically, no. And I mean, our bloodlines for the performance horse industry is pretty, there's a lot of similarities there. And I see more horses lately that are starting to be crossed, maybe on some running blood, maybe something a little bit outside the box, get a little more size, bone to them, because our performance horses kind of went the other way a little too drastic. And I think it was a lot of line breeding and similar bloodlines, that got all the cutters and cow horse that were winning everything were bred very similarly. So I see that happening, and breeders taking chances on trying to get an outcross to get that horse that still has a really good mind and a lot of athletic ability, yet has some size and speed to it. That I feel like we kind of lost out on that the last few generations of horses here. So long story short, the bloodlines that we're riding mostly are highbrow cat and Pepto Boomsmo type horses. There's some Shining Spark still in there. And, obviously the newer sires like Metallic Cat has made such a huge impact on the cutting and cow horse business that it's trickling down into the roping right now as well. So those are the kind of horses that they're crossing with. Frenchman's Guide. I have a Streak of Fling horse that's out of a Pepto and Shining Spark bred mare. So we're seeing those horses start to hit the scene right now.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. I'm excited for my friends at Myers Quarter Horses. They're Frenchman's Guy. I mean, it's hard to say that Frenchman's Guy is getting even bigger because he was like the biggest thing. Oh yeah, that happened to Barrel Horse, but it's so nice to see all the ropers starting to cross on him, more and more too.
You bet. And that's, I mean, like I said, the soundness issues, the trouble we have keeping these performance horses going for a long period of time, especially when we're putting a lot of intensive training on them at a young age. That bone and bone density and just the size of their legs and feet is so critical. And I think that we were sacrificing a little bit of that to get the performance, get the speed and get the quickness, and the good cow instinct and stuff like that out of these horses. And now it's, I think, a turn for the better on genetics for people to start prioritizing that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said your schedule's getting crazier and crazier. Were you able to duck off the Dynamite or Rancho Rio or anywhere to just purely fun team rope this winter?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. We have some chances there. late November, early December, getting ready to go to the World Series finale, getting geared up for that. And we were able to go get some small jackpots in. And so that was fun. And then since it got canceled, that allowed us some flexibility to go to some other ropings at Wickenburg, Rancho Rio, and some of those. It's just such a great area for that, and it's a great place to get our young horses out, especially when I've got some clients and stuff like that I'm helping that are lower numbered. I can use those younger horses that are a little green and go get them seasoned and get confident with them in a competition setting, and not put a lot of pressure on them for the high speed and stuff like that right away. So yeah, we're blessed to be in this neighborhood for the events that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the World Series stuff, do you have like an old campaigner that you keep around for yourself? It's purely fun, or do you ride all client horses at these deals?
Well, one of my longtime client / friends, the Greenbergs, they've been with us for a long time, and I've been riding one of their horses at the World Series final since he was a 4-year-old, and I think he's 11 now. But yeah, he's my go-to money horse. He's just been super solid all along the way, and he's a Easy Odie Whiz out of a Colonel Freckles' daughter, and got started in a reining program here in Scottsdale, and we ended up with him as a 3-year-old, and he just was one of those that was kind of born to be a team roping horse. He just loves it. That was never any issues in the box. He could haul him. Like, I took him to the World Series finals when he was 4, and it was no big deal. And he's just been rock solid. So I like having him in my back pocket when I want to just go have some fun and rope for myself.
That's awesome. Now, are you teaching a lot? What part of your day is working with non-pros and amateurs?
Well, if you ask any of them, they probably say my time management isn't as good as it could be, because I have a tendency to try to do it all, So I think, well, I can get these 4 open horses work before I give 3 lessons and before lunch, right? So I get everything crammed in there, and most of the time it works out, but sometimes it backfires on me and I end up rushing through some of the stuff. But I would say I try to schedule lessons, like 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday. And that way I can concentrate on my open horses and what I need to get done the other 3 days of the week, as well as those lesson days, and then be a little more focused and a little more attentive to my customers' needs when we're actually having lessons, and, spend good quality time so that they get a good quality lesson, and try to get some improvements made in them and their horsemanship and their horses.
Is there anything you're working on in your own roping right now? Anything you're struggling with or working through?
For myself, just mainly consistency, especially on the human side. I watch those guys, the greats, and they're also disciplined, that they never take a bad shot. And so that to me is one of the things that I constantly work on, of having that discipline to just stay with the mechanics, be consistent, take a good shot every time. And the head side, I would say I have a tendency to let my horsemanship override my roping ability as far as prioritizing that. And so anything I feel in my horse can distract me from my roping. And so I've been working on trying to make the roping a little bit more of a priority, let my horse kind of work, without being so picky and without being so disciplined on having everything just right, and reaching a little bit more in the head, and, taking a little further through, and just, concentrating on catching and not worried about my horse so much.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I teach it all the time, and I'm constantly, wanting to have those little finer points better and better. So it distracts you from the actual roping sometimes.
I get it. I think I hear that from a lot of horse trainers. You're obviously not unique in that.
Well, and the other side of it is pretty much everybody that I help, I have to go the other way with. They all, most ropers prioritize the roping, right? And that they got to catch. Number one is catching the cow. And so I would say 90% of my lessons, I have to teach them that it's okay not to throw your rope, or it's okay to miss, or it's okay to not turn the steer, even if you do catch, fundamentally. So that's a struggle, but it's good because it reminds me of that priority.
Yeah, I think you and I did a win-a-day with you once upon a time, and we spent most of the day, we weren't roping any cattle. We were working on horsemanship. I remember that. Certainly.
You want to make a group of team ropers, Matt, just load the steers and don't let them rope.
Load the steers and give them Snapple bits.
Yeah,
I remember said for that win-a-day, we said, okay, everybody has to bring a Snapple bit, and that was a big problem because most of them didn't even own one. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that's funny. Well, did you get yourself a qualification spot for Vegas already? Well, I guess if you were going in 2020, you're still going to make it in 2021 then? Yeah,
so we enter as a legacy team, the two partners that I rope with. So we chose to get the refund from 2020, and I haven't heard how that all is going to shake out as far as if they're going to do a pre-entry again, or if we got to qualify or any of that. But the schedule for us doesn't change much. We try to hit the usual World Series qualifiers, whether we're trying to qualify or not, and the ones around here, and then try to hit some out of state during the summer.
Oh, really? Are you going to make it to the U.S. finals, or do you have something overlapping?
No plans on the U.S. finals. We've got family stuff, so we're going to try to get some vacation in, try to get my youngest boy is on a competitive dance team, so we're going to have to spend a little time this summer traveling for that, which is it's really out of our element, of mine anyway. Just a completely different world, right? So it's really fun to see his passion and love for that, to put the time and effort into being competitive in that. It's pretty cool.
My kid's only 4, but I still live for sitting and watching her play soccer because it's much less stressful than oh my God, if we were junior rodeoing right now, my stress level would be at a 10, and there would just be so much to worry about. And it's so nice to jump into another world of something that mom doesn't have to be the coach at. I don't have to worry about packing a horse trailer. It's awesome.
Right. That's got to be a difference for us, because our older boy is into the horses quite a bit, Bryce, and he's actually won the Youth World Show in the boxing a couple of years ago. Following in his mom's footsteps, she also won the world championship there. So that's been fun, but he's into football also. So we're like everybody else, I think, going 9 different directions and trying to be the best at all of it, and just happy that we have the resources and each other to go enjoy all that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brad. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to do this.
Me too. I was glad to be on.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around today. This show was brought to you by the EcoLux Bamboo Gear Line by Weaver Leather. Check them out at ridethebrand.com/EcoLux.